Good setup. I guess we've got a file corruption problem here, and we've got no clicker. Who walked off with a clicker? Is it down here? Oh, you got it. Okay. And do we have a file, or do we have to, do I dance? Very soon. Real soon now, as they say in the software business. Why don't, while we're waiting, Brian Monahan from Walmart and Walmart.com and Steve Patrizzi from Pinterest. Why don't you guys just introduce yourself and give a little of your background? We'll do that, and then we'll go into a couple of minutes of PowerPoint, and then we'll go into some Q&A. Brian?
Okay, sure. So Brian Monahan, I'm VP of Marketing at Walmart.com. Responsible for customer acquisition and retention at Walmart.com. I'm new to the organization. I've been there 6 months. White knuckling through my first holiday season at a retailer. Checking my phone by the minute, how sales are doing. So far, so good. Yeah, a lot of people in the room, been out here in the Bay Area my whole career, and excited to be here.
All right. Steve?
Steve Patrizzi. I look after partner marketing at Pinterest. Partners, we use that term to really describe all of the companies who are helping us provide the experience to users. We don't have journalists or editors creating content, and our content isn't really created by our users. It really comes in from other sites, other applications, and it's either those partners who are pinning their own content into their own boards, or they're motivating their audiences to pin content into Pinterest. And so that's a really important ecosystem for us. We kind of think of it almost like a co-op, that we are working with a number of partners to help us provide this experience for our users. I joined the company in February. I was employee 100. I think we are now at 220. So it's been a pretty hectic few months for us, but we're still pretty small. And I've been in the advertising business for most of my career. I spent some time at the Wall Street Journal and MSN and LinkedIn, and now I'm at Pinterest.
All right, thanks, guys. So last little bit feeds right into this. It talks about digital and mobile, saving retail. There are new in-store services. There's in-app. There's ability to buy stuff in-app, and pick it up at the store. Very quickly, there could be connections to inventory, and you're not going to have to worry about, well, they're out of stock. You can find it in another store, and it can be delivered there or delivered to your home. And there's showrooming on steroids, and Steve's going to talk a little bit about this, but there's going to become, rather than retailers being paranoid about showrooming and then buying it someplace else, there's going to be more transparency. There's going to be price matching, and there's going to be matching against online and offline retailers. It's going to happen. We've got other new in-store services, including capturing of market research data, promotion for select products, mobile point of sale, offers of consumer rewards as an incentive to find products, private and instant sales for mobile app users, and instant customer service. I mean, the wait to get somebody to help you from a customer service time is too long, and there's no reason why it can't be Amazon-like, where you put in a question and they call you back on your mobile phone right there, and they guide you through the answer in the store. Technologies. I've got a couple of technologies I'm going to talk about. Right now, there's a niche group of consumers that are early adopters that are doing things like scanning of barcodes and NFC applications and Bluetooth, and that's the early stage of this. But very quickly, in-store mapping, navigation with Google Maps and GPS. It's going to start in a section of stores. Right now, companies like Aisle 411 and Point Inside are working with companies like Lowe's, where they've got basically transponders in sections of the stores, so they can guide you through the sections of the stores. That's going to come down to a lot more granularity in time. iBeacon has been used by Major League Baseball. They can tell whether you're tailgating or whether you're inside and where you are inside. Macy's just adopted it for a couple of stores. There's iBeacon is in every iPhone, every iPad already. Just needs applications written to it. It could replace the cash register. It will certainly replace NFC. Just read about something the other day. DecaWave, chip IDs, location within 10 centimeters. Amazing technology. Internet of Things is going to be huge in retailer. There are going to be sensors on every product in the store. Right now they've got sensors on pallets, but there are going to be sensors in every product in the store. A teenage girl came up and got funding behind a concept of a new sensor that doesn't have a battery. It's going to take its energy from the spare radio waves and Wi-Fi waves that are out there. So there's lots of innovation going on that's going to make this possible and affordable and scalable. Smart shopping lists, and they're going to be enhanced by behavioral overlay. And you're going to combine all this, and you're going to literally be able to have a route through a Walmart or a route through Lowe's that's going to be very efficient for you and picking up all your things based upon your behavior. And the bottom line is a win-win for consumers and retailers. There's much less friction in shopping trips, easier navigation, saving money and time, and from a standpoint of the retailer, they attract more consumers and they get a higher basket value, which is what it's all about for retailers, selling you that couple of extra things. Right now they do it with end aisles, but with behavior they'll be able to suggest things Amazon-like, suggest other things that are either on your wish list or things that you might like, and get those extra things in the basket that way. So it's really exciting what's going on in this area. So I'm going to start with Brian, and I recognize that you're online. I try not to use the word .com. It became a pejorative a dozen years ago, and I never did like it. But you're on the online rather than the store side. But I know you have some perspective on this. So can you talk briefly about some of the mobile initiatives that Walmart is doing in store?
Yeah. So Walmart Global E-commerce is the only division of Walmart that's not headquartered in Bentonville. It's headquartered here in San Bruno. Got 2,000 employees here in the Valley, including our mobile group. So 2,000
here.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and most of what you just showed, we're working on. So it's a super exciting time to think about the role of mobile in the retail experience for sure, So we have 3 mobile experiences. We have a tablet app, we have an iPad app, we have an M website. First off, it's a commerce experience, so you can shop from your phone. There's some pretty neat features when you go in store. So our stores are geofenced, and when you go in store, it will switch into store mode. And help you do some of the navigation around the store, help you find rollbacks and what's on ad in that local store. In about 200 stores, we've rolled out what we call Scan and Go. So it's actually as you travel through the store, you can use your phone to actually basically scan the barcode and then just go right through self-checkout as you exit the store. So a lot of what we're trying to do is at Walmart is, our strategy is win the intersection of physical and digital, and it happens on your phone.
Cool. Hey, Steve, when we first talked, you talked about some things that you were doing with Nordstrom's, and now I see this morning that a formal announcement has been made, and it sounds like you're using crowdsourcing and the consumer to actually do the merchandising at a couple of Nordstrom stores. Is that right?
Yeah, there are a couple of interesting things that they're doing. When the founders of Pinterest started the company, they were trying to solve for this problem of collecting. It was something they did as kids. They loved to collect things, and they noticed that when they went online and they saw all these amazing things that they liked, there wasn't an easy way to take that content almost at an atomic level and put it in a collection that made sense to them. And so they created Pinterest really as a way to allow people, as you're traversing the web, here's a shelf, and I want to put that shelf in a collection that I'm creating called great things for small apartments. Someone else might see that and say, I want to put that into a collection I've created called sustainably made products. Someone else may put that into something called great for my home redesign project. The idea is that we all create these personal collections. And Nordstrom started noticing this was happening. They noticed that people were going to Nordstrom, and one person might see a pair of shoes and say, wow, this is a great pair of shoes for work. Someone else may say it's red, and so I'm going to put it in a collection of red clothes because I love red clothes. They noticed this was happening quite a bit. And what they really started to look at was what are people putting in these collections? What other items are paired with that item? And what does that tell us about how people really think about our products, what kind of products they think go together? And so they started to use that data both to help them understand how do we organize content on our site, but how do we also organize content in our stores? And so they started testing these displays in their stores. It would say the top pinned items on Pinterest, and they would notice that, wow, people were regularly pinning this pair of shoes with this blouse. We weren't really displaying them that way in our stores, but maybe we should give it a shot. And what they were telling us is, hey, it's actually working. And so today they just announced that they've rolled that out to all of their stores. They had tested that with about 14 stores, and now they're doing it with all their stores. And they've also armed their store managers with these apps that show the store manager, here are all the items you have in your store, here's how many pins those items have, how many repins, to give that store manager some signal as to what kind of items should I be putting out. And the interesting thing is they really did all this on their own. So we have a very tiny little partner team. We're trying to make our platform as available as possible so that marketers and partners don't have to worry about scheduling calls with us and trying to track us down. They can just go and use it. And so this is one of the best examples we had seen of a company who just really leaned in and decided, let's use these insights to think about how do we better present products. And again, I don't have any of their sales data, but given the fact they're now rolling this out to all of their stores, it's a pretty good sign to us that they must be seeing enough value to continue the program.
So Brian, you talked about winning at the intersection of physical and digital. Mm-hmm. So can't you do something with Pinterest here? And I know you got boards up, but you're not doing exactly what Nordstrom's is doing. Can't you guys work together on this?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we love Pinterest, so we maintain a bunch of boards. Our merchants are sort of using it as sort of a test bed to start to play with what works, in an assortment. We're playing around with the API. Signed up for the beta of the Promoted Pins program, which we're super excited about. And I think what they're doing with Nordstrom is really interesting because in the retail sort of the digitization of the physical store, there's a lot of legacy systems, right? So Nordstrom's theoretically could get a lot of those same insights just by sort of data mining their sort of sales and figuring out what goes together and matching it back. But a lot of those systems are really legacy systems and are not super flexible. And to have sort of a cool sort of portable user experience that the customer just brings into the store with her, and then sort of get those insights out of it, it's a really creative sort of workaround. These sort of the reality that you're talking about thousands of stores with sort of an infrastructure that is not always super flexible to enable the types of experiences you showed us.
Yeah. So. Steve, are there other retailers that you're working with at this point?
Yeah, there are a number, and again, I would we're working with them in a kind of consultative way. We're not today we're not signing contracts or doing a lot of paperwork in a traditional kind of advertising sense. We're trying to help partners just understand how can they provide more value into the system, and we see that when they do that, they get more value back. And so we see companies doing some interesting things like Michael's, the craft store. They are creating boards that show some really interesting things that you can make with products they sell. But they're taking that experience into their stores. And so now when you come into their stores, you'll see these displays of really cool do-it-yourself crafts. And they encourage people to then pin that in their own boards. And then, of course, they help you find all those items in their stores. Topshop, the kind of high-end retailer, they've created these interactive displays that allow you to walk up and on that display pin items to your own personal wish list. And so we've seen some really Lowe's and Macy's both did some interesting things with their Black Friday programs. Lowe's created a number of pins that were silhouettes of objects, and it was just enough to tell, I could see that was a drill, I could see this one was some kind of a screwdriver, but I didn't know exactly which one it was, but they were basically saying these items are going to go on sale on Black Friday, so I would then put them into my own list of items that I'm going to think about. I have a board called Gifts for Guy Friends, so as I'm thinking about things that I need to buy, I've got a bunch of items now, and the idea is they'll switch those over to the real items once they're revealed on Black Friday. So and again, they kind of came up with these ideas on their own. We help them understand some of the basic points about how the service works, what our users expect. But for the most part, they're putting a lot of really creative horsepower from their own teams behind these programs and coming up with things that we probably never would have dreamed about ourselves, but we're so delighted to see that they're doing it.
So Brian, you've got so much perspective about the digital industry and being a pioneer stage guy yourself, and now you've got some time at Walmart. Bringing the two of these together, what other kinds of things do you see the industry doing, or can you maybe just talk a little bit about some of the stuff in the initial presentation that you think are going to, and maybe amplify those a little bit?
Well, so we don't. So I'll talk about maybe showrooming for a second. So we do have a feature in our app that does let you scan a barcode and get the Walmart price, wherever you are. And our mission is to help people save money so they can live better. So we welcome sort of price checking because that usually works out pretty well for Walmart. And you could start to, we don't have sort of automatic sort of price matching built into that feature yet, but it doesn't sort of take much of a leap of the imagination to start to imagine how, you can scan different things and you start to see different retailers with different prices sort of competing for your business on price. So I think that'll be a real interesting trend, it's sort of kind of allowing sort of the sort of side-by-side sort of price checking that happens in e-commerce, when that comes into stores as well, to see what that does to just sort of how people shop and basket size and all that sort of stuff.
Did I hear someplace that you're trying to eliminate lines and make it possible for people to, on their app, say when they're ready to check out, and you'll send them an SMS when they're next in line?
I don't know.
Is that you guys doing that? Somebody else doing that?
So we do have, a Scan & Go product that I mentioned does help you go right through the self-checkout line. So yes, I mean, the mobile, we're trying to help our customer save money, navigate the store, find what they're looking for, more assortment online if they need it. And then there's a whole store operations part of like helping you with labor costs, customer service you mentioned. So there's this whole retooling of the store that's going on. It's really cool.
So Steve, I saw Joanne Bradford is joining you guys. Is she going to really expand the advertising potential and the potential for big clients to tap into Pinterest in different ways?
Yeah, we're really fired up that Joanne joined us. I had the chance to work with her when I was at MSN, and she's just an amazing leader and really understands marketers and understands the digital landscape, and Brian's worked with her a lot before. As I mentioned, that this whole notion of how do we create this great experience for pinners, and we can't do it without partners. A lot of times our partners will ask us, how can I get more distribution for the pins that are already going to the system? Hey, I love the fact that people are coming to my site, they're pinning my content into these boards they're creating. The people who are following those boards are then seeing my content. And I'm seeing results. We get a lot of really interesting feedback from marketers saying, wow, people are either coming to our store and they're telling us, I'm looking for that specific thing that I found on Pinterest, or they're clicking through or buying these products. But how do we get more? How do we get more distribution for that? And so what we're currently experimenting with now is this notion of promoted pins. We've done a very limited test with a small group of partners, and it's very manual at the moment. We haven't built an ad server. There's so many things we still have to do, but we wanted to get a feel for how would our users take this? If they started to see something in their feed that would say promoted pin, what kind of reaction would they have to that? And we think there's something really interesting there. The results we're seeing is that those promoted pins are working as well as organic pins. And to an extent, they start their life as an organic pin. They're just being shown now to some more people who normally wouldn't have seen them. And so the idea is we get a lot of learnings from that. We figure out how does that become a product that works really well for our partners, helps them receive more value so they continue to invest in the system. And so Joanne will be building out a team of people who can really sit down with our partners and kind of walk them through, wow, here are all the pins you have in the system. These pins are doing really well. They're getting a lot of repins. Here's some others that we think might be able to get a little more value if they had more distribution, so maybe we should test promoting those. We'll try different configurations. We want a user to look at this and say, wow, everything here is valuable. And since they're coming with a natural intent of looking for products and services, we think there's a way to kind of really build some harmony between the organic content and the advertising content, and that's a hard thing to pursue, but we think we might have a shot. We're just really going to need a lot of partners who can help us get it right.
Well, hopefully digital consumers are astute enough to know that you got to pay the bill somehow, right? So
It's kind of cool. So stepping away from sort of the mobile bit, but like what I think Pinterest allows, and a lot of what we're seeing now is just sort of experimentation with sort of what programming is. And in a collection, you can sort of weave together content and commerce in a really sort of interesting way. And I think we're starting to figure that out. And you see it now, and I think the tablet really enables sort of different sort of breaking the boundaries that we've had of like what a magazine or a website or a TV show are in these sort of really interesting ways. And it's another thing I think mobile devices are bringing to retail is helping just reinvent what content and how it gets swirled together with commerce really is.
yeah, good content has value, it turns out. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah.
Questions out here, folks? Anybody? They got lots more to talk about, so if you don't have any.
Do you have a pin for that mustache?
There actually is a decent amount of Movember content that is floating around, and I've pinned some of it to make myself feel a little better about this crazy thing that's on my face right now. But yeah, there actually is a decent amount of it. You should follow.
Yeah, Mark has a pin for his mustache, do you not?
It's bit.ly/Silva's low if you'd like to.
Okay. Anybody else got anything out here? Anything you guys want to talk about in conclusion?
I guess the one thing we would say is right now we're a really small team. We're trying to make as much of our content available as possible. We have a business site set up, and we're not selling anything yet. So, we're not trying to go out there with a hard sell. We just really do hope that we have a great ecosystem of partners who create this experience. We think of it as most of the very successful digital platforms. They deliver this aha moment to their customers, this like magic moments. Like with Facebook, it was for me the first time I put my real name into a service, and like I was magically connected with people who I thought I was going to lose touch with forever. And Google, we think, is the company that does it the best, right? You type a query, who is Mark Silva, into this little white box, and within like milliseconds, I get all the information I need about who he is. There are a bunch of other questions like, what should my living room look like, or what should I have for dinner tonight, or what kind of clothes might make me feel cool, if not look cool. And those are very subjective. You don't really expect a factual answer to come back from Google on that. Those are really answers that you kind of discover, that you don't really know exactly what it is until you see it. And we think that the retail world is really set up around discovery. You walk into these places that have been very carefully hand curated by people. Everything is in a certain place for a particular reason because it provides this whole discovery experience. I might go to Walmart looking for a great lawn chair, but then I walk past the electronics section, and there's a reason the flat screen TVs are in the back of the room, and as I walk to those TVs, I discover a bunch of other gadgets that I might like, and I walk out with some things that I'm glad that I have in my hand, but I hadn't actually known that I wanted or walked in there to look for. And that experience hasn't exactly translated well online. There really hasn't been this notion of just kind of exploring a space kind of aimlessly and discovering all kinds of things that are perfect for me. And that's what we're trying to solve for. We just need a lot of partners who are going to help us provide a lot of content that people can then discover. And we hope that then provides a value back to our partners. You have a great service in Google and search engines when people are looking for your stuff, but how do they discover your stuff when they don't want it? And that's what we want to work with you guys on.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming down, sharing. Thanks a lot.
You got it.
Okay.